So much love and appreciation to those of you who have been with me for the 2 year period plus that I've been doing this. Thank you for showing your love and support to the channel. And to anybody else who is brand new to the platform and you would like to support the channel, also you can do it by way of Patreon, Anchor, the clothing store, and also the shoe shop that is listed in the comment description below. And again, thank you to any and all of you guys who have been here to support this channel during the 2+ year period. I wouldn't be able to do what I do every single day without you. A group of women gathered to celebrate a birthday are recovering from injuries, and a man is found deceased. Atlanta police stated that the incident happened after a fight started at an apartment complex on Cleveland Avenue Saturday night. One of the women involved stated that they were gathered to celebrate a birthday. That woman then states that a neighbor started yelling at them, claiming that they were disrespecting his sister. One of the women got into a struggle with the man. Quote, "When we fell on the ground, he got up and got his weapon, and then he aimed it at me and my leg. After that, he just started aiming everywhere. He started at everybody, and everybody tried to run back into the house." The woman later states that she got her own weapon and then returned fire to protect her family. Delano Wells Jr., age 22, was found deceased at the scene, and the woman who took the life of that man stated that police told her she would not face any charges.
Here comes a new challenger!
Mother of a 22-year-old man who was injured and had his life taken outside of his Cleveland Avenue apartment stated that she brought her family to Atlanta from Toledo, Ohio for a safer environment. Cheryl Wells stated that her son, Delano Jr., died in her arms after someone took his life as he defended his younger sister, Cassandra. Ms. Wells stated that her downstairs neighbors have had an ongoing dispute with her family at the Fairway Gardens apartment. She later stated that her family did everything that they could to avoid conflict, but another dispute took place Saturday night. The distraught mother stated that her son, who had a heart of gold, stated that her 17-year-old daughter had been jumped and was also being physically assaulted by their neighbors when Delano intervened. Quote, "She went to go tell her brother. He came out and mediated the situation. They were beating her. They started attacking him. Then they started firing weapons. One of the bullets hit her thigh and the other grazed her on her arm, and his body was here on the ground." Ms. Wells admits that her son, who aspired to be a screenwriter and a filmmaker, legally had a weapon and only used it that night while defending his sister. Cassandra and the 3 other women who were injured will recover, but Delano passed at the scene. Quote, "He was the most responsible weapon owner. He kept it locked and put up and would only bring it out to protect those he loved." Delano's fiance has started a GoFundMe page to help the family with medical expenses and funds to relocate. Atlanta police are working the case. We're also talking to several witnesses who saw the incident and are cooperating, but at this point, they have made no arrest. What I want people to do is to pay very close attention to how the stories are, in a sense, being narrated, right? One story you're going to hear, right? The women basically state that they were innocent. This man was wild. He came out of nowhere. He was just there to attack them for no reason, and they didn't know him or they didn't know anything that he was directly talking about, right? So he was just a wild animal and he was just attacking, right? Then the next story, when you listen to it, you're going to hear something vastly different. You're going to hear, in a sense, a reason, right, as why it is that the things that took place did take place.
Yeah, that's right. Only one of the 3 sisters who were remains here at Grady Hospital, although feel very fortunate to have survived this hail of from a man who appeared deranged.
The side of this Cleveland Avenue apartment building remains marked with holes as 3 sisters and other family members celebrated one sister's birthday Saturday night. A man who lives in one of the units came charging out.
He came down with a fanny pack over him and his fanny pack. He came down there with the intent to shoot.
This woman, who wasn't among those shot, says the man falsely accused them of disrespecting his sister, who they didn't know. He then got into a struggle with one of the sisters.
He got up, he grabbed his, he shot me in my leg.
Bullets were flying everywhere, and everybody was running and falling, and it was terrible.
And I found my ground, and I shot back. Yeah, and it wasn't my intention, but I had to protect my family as well.
This sister, who like the others wished to remain anonymous, got the leg and arm, causing nerve tissue damage.
I was 8 times.
In all, 3 sisters and a niece were. The man accused of them died on the scene. The medical examiner identifies him as Delano Wells Jr., age 22. Still thankful one sister fought back and saved their lives.
I just want to thank God that they're still here, and she was able to protect us.
Police have declined to comment on the case, but the sister who fired the fatal says she's been told that no charges will be brought against her.
Will's mother tells me she moved her family from Toledo, Ohio to Atlanta in hopes of escaping violence. She says she would have never imagined her son would have been ultimately anyway.
They raised a great man, someone who would risk his life for those he loved.
Isaac Morville still can't believe the love of his life is gone. 22-year-old Delano Wells Jr.'s mom tells me her son, who has a heart of gold, died in her arms after being fatally at their Fairview Garden apartment Saturday night. His mother says Delano was defending his 17-year-old sister Cassandra when he was shot. The rising senior says her downstairs neighbors jumped on her and were physically assaulting her when her brother stepped in.
She went to go tell Leno, and Leno came out and tried to mediate the situation. But then they started fighting him, and they were fighting her, and they tried to drag her into their apartment, and then they started. Sandra, she got in the leg, and she got grazed on the arm, and she didn't know what happened. So, when she came over here, he was on the floor.
Miss Wells admits her son legally had a weapon and only used it Saturday night while defending his sister Cassandra. The other 3 women who will recover.
He was the most responsible gun owner you could ever know. He kept it locked away, never armed. He had his permit. He purely kept it in case he needed to defend himself or his loved ones.
So now when you start to hear both sides of the story, you will start to see how one side doesn't really make that much sense. Why would it be that in the same exact apartment complex would a random man decide to go at a group of women who are just simply celebrating a family member's birthday party? A very simple get-together, right? Yelling and talking, and then getting to an argument, and then later a fight, which then ended up becoming a weapon-involved incident where people were injured, right? And the way that they narrated and painted the story, they said that they don't, pretty much know what happened. They don't know who the person is. They don't even know his sister and different things of that nature. But then when you hear the other side, right? When you hear from Delano's fiance, right? And he explained the fact that he was a very nice guy. He would do anything to protect his family. And that's what he was doing when it was dealing with his sister, who is 17 years old and who at one point or another ended up getting into a battle of words with the grown woman there. And somehow that ended up going into from an argument, 2 words, to a full-on fight, where, as they stated, she was being dragged down the stairs and into their apartment complex. And somewhere after that, this is when her brother came, and everything basically took place from there. This was simply a black man who was trying to defend a member of his family, who was trying to defend his younger sister, as they stated, as the family stated, as Delano's fiance stated. He has a license to carry. He is a legal owner, right? And he was fully within his right to defend his family, right? But as I stated before, this is how they want to decide to narrate the story. They'll give you the one side of the story, and they'll make it seem, oh, it was just this random black guy who was just in the apartment, and for no reason he was arguing with us, yelling at us, and he was just trying to fight with us coming into our area, and we ended up having a tussle, and then things happen, right? Like I said before, there's always more to the story. I need people to pay very close attention and make sure, if you can, right, to pay attention to both sides. Because if one side was allowed to just run with the story, everybody would just demonize, be like, oh, look at, this is what, black men are out here doing. They're just randomly out here fighting, black women and yada, 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 when that clearly was not the case. There was obviously a reason to why it is that these things took place. And it seems as though only one side is, in a sense, being honest with it, while the other side is giving whatever narrative that they want to sit up there and give. But at the end of the day, a black man did his best to try to defend a young black woman. And inevitably, he ended up losing his life because of it. And the other thing that I want to point out to people is that I wonder if it's going to come a point in time if the other community will come out and speak, or if they will march, or if they will make a hashtag for Delano, since he ended up losing his life to unnecessary violence that should have never taken place for the most part. Or I wonder if this story is going to get skipped over and swept directly underneath the rug.